welcome everyone. Today I have Ryan Nitson from the Corner Coach here with me, and today we're going to talk about seat bumps, exactly what they are, and what the Corner Coach is, and how it can help you as a rider. So, Ryan, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I've got it right here sitting in front of me. I have the Corner Coach here. So, could you explain to everybody what exactly this product is compared to the regular seat bump?
Yeah, so the Corner Coach is an adjustable and removable seat bump. So a lot of pros you see, like Justin Barsha, Christian Craig, they run a seat bump in their seat. So they take the seat cover off, they glue a piece of foam down. It could be a bar pad, something like that, and then they have the exact measurement where they want it, how high they want it. And this came about just having friends riding, and I was like, man, it'd be really helpful. You're sitting so far back on the seat. It'd be really helpful if we could put a seat bump on your bike. But I'm like, I don't want to install one on my buddy's bike. It's just so much work. And so we're like, what if there was something that you could just slide on? And if you don't like the position, you can move it forward, you can move it backwards. And then you could take it off if you don't like it or you learn the proper position. And that's kind of how it started. So it's like all the benefits of a seat bump, like a permanent one, but you can take it on and take it off in about a minute. It's like no hassle of installation. And that's kind of, I guess, the short version of what it is.
Yeah, no, and I think that's one of the things I first mentioned to you when we first spoke to each other was how is this not something that was around like for a long time? Because in my opinion, once again another just great invention where it's as simple as that. It's a strap you can put on your seat and take it off. Because I remember when I first looked at seat bumps, I was in the same mindset. I was like, I don't really want to take a seat cover off and then put it on there. And one of my thoughts was, what if I don't like having a seat bump?
Yeah.
But I think this really changed my perspective on that. I mean, I don't know. I think that's really cool that that's how you kind of initiated that with you and your buddies.
A ton
So
of really good brands out there that make the bump and they make the whole seat. They make the seat with the bump, but they kind of, you could buy a complete seat with a bump in it. It's a lot more expensive than just buying the foam of the bump or making your own. But then too, like I've talked to Christian Craig's mechanic and he has a specific depth that he wants it, and it's like he'll know if it's farther forward or farther back because it's going to hold him in that pocket where he can seat bounce, where he can turn right, corner good in the ruts and stuff. So it was like, how do we, how do we make this product? And I'm with you too. Like we went through the whole patent process and I was like, how has no one thought of this before? Like this is a pretty simple idea and it solves an issue that I'm having and I'm sure I'm not the only person who's ever had this problem. So yeah, it was pretty cool and I don't know, just go through with it and have an issue and all right, let's try this. And then you give it to your buddies to try it out and then it works and you see it working in real time. That was like really cool.
yeah, that's awesome. And I think for me, what I think is so cool about it is the just like the thought of how it can literally be used at any point on the seat. Because I think Joey Savacci was he the one that threw it on the front of his seat
Yeah.
instead of the back? Yeah. So like that to me is really cool because that's something I don't think many people would have thought of. And taking something like this, throwing it on the front, just giving it a try versus taking the whole seat cover off, or like you're saying, ordering, pre-made and all that stuff. Instead of doing all that, you can simply buy this, put it on the front, give it a
Yeah.
try. So I think that's
Yeah. I
pretty cool.
remember getting that order and our guys being like, hey, is there another Joey Savacci that you think and we looked at the address and stuff. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's the Joey Savacci. And yeah,
Oh,
seeing his bike at the nationals and kind of like I was like saw it on Instagram. I'm like, what is that a bump at the front? And we actually have one other kid who runs it at the front, Cannon Zabanik. He raced the 65 class at Charlotte SMX.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had run it at the front for a few years, like Loretta's and stuff, and I was like blown away that he was doing that. But yeah, it's cool. It's kind of taken on a life of its own. After you put something out in the world like that, it just kind of like it's free for everyone to do whatever they want with it. So it's kind of cool to see that stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, Cannon, yes, I definitely recognize that name. He's definitely one of the future stars to come. And then obviously Joey Savacci, a big name, which is like you said, I would have probably been thinking the same thing. Like, is this him? But
Yeah,
that's so cool to see because clearly, even something as like you said, it's a simple design, but yet it still clearly works incredibly well. And where did you guys start figuring out how to get this texture on there? Because this is very similar to almost like to a T, exactly what my seat is like.
Yeah, no, it is the same material that the seat cover guys use.
Okay.
Pretty much all the brands who do seat covers have the same supplier, and so yeah, we just there's a lot of time finding out who's who and where to get this stuff, and yeah, that was pretty much it. It's so that's what I wanted when we designed it. Is like it has to be the same material. It has to grip your seat cover. It has to blend with the seat cover. The kind of idea of it was like that it could match your bike and not look ugly, but still be easy and effective to put on. You know, it wouldn't look like it would stand out against your seat cover. You know.
Right. Yeah, and that is something I remember when I first looked at all your guys' products. I have your website up on this monitor here, and the first thing I see is, new custom colors, and that's super cool because obviously a lot of guys out there like to trick their bikes out, do all these different colors and seat covers with multiple colors, and then imagine if it was just one plain, just like color against all their craziness that they have. So I think that is a really smart thought there to have custom colors. But yeah, I that was one of the first things I noticed when I opened this up was the grip off of this because it is, yeah, spot on with my bike at least. I should say both the bikes I've had because since I had that Guts Racing seat cover on the previous bike, this matched up perfectly, and this matches up great with my factory edition gas. So
Yeah, that was pretty much a non-negotiable when we started. It was just it has to be this material. We have to find out who sells this, where we can get it, and that was stuff that I never really thought I would own my own business or anything. So that was such a difficult part was just sourcing material and where can we get this stuff from and who's who and it just learning so much. Like I just tell everyone whenever somebody asks me how's it going, I'm like, well, we're just learning a lot. Like it's a lot of learning all the time. But yeah, it's definitely fun. And yeah, now we have like suppliers and stuff like that we can go to and call. Like we added some more colors. We got like pink and purple in the custom mix now. And yeah, that part of your bike is to design it and make it look like yours. And to me, like all the custom seat cover guys, you can choose any color you want. So that was a big thing too, like being able to have the customers design the colors that they want. And it's so cool to see some of them that go out. You're like, oh, I think, like you have the factory gas. It's like, okay, well, red and blue will be a cool one. But then you'll see like pink and green go out. And you're like, man, I hope this guy like tags us on Instagram because I want to see what this thing looks like on the bike.
absolutely, I can only imagine the cool orders you get out of there. And then also, with the orders that you guys get, how I would say what amount of pro riders when you show up to like Supercross or like the outdoors do you see running seat bumps? Because I feel like when people go to look up at seat bumps or at least when you're new, because I remember when I was new, I was like, oh, I don't really know about seat bumps. Do people really
Yeah.
use them? So with that, through your guys' experience, what would you say?
Yeah, I'd love to take some credit for bringing the bump back. That's kind of what we say, but I don't know. I think now it's like I look for that too. I look at everyone's seat when we go to Supercross, and I look for these things. So there's definitely a lot of guys. I know Deegan. Deegan's like the one of the only guys I know who was running one and then is now not. But that was on the old chassis Yamaha. Now the new one that he's not. But I mean, RJ Hamp, almost all of the Husky team. So RJ, Malcolm, Christian, Craig, they're all running one. Barsha, Pierce Brown,
Wow.
um, like I think Nick Romano on Star runs one. Some of the Suzuki, like Roxon runs one now. He wasn't running one for a while. He's a new addition to running a bump. So I think it's an overlooked thing. A lot of guys, whether you want a bump or not, but just like the seat cover in general is such a missed opportunity. The bikes are so fast now that to have a seat cover with ribs to hold you in place is like I think I'm buddies with Josh Moseman at Motocross Action, and he says it's like the one mod that he will do to every bike is just put a seat cover on. And so
Hmm.
I think to see the big guys like running bumps and stuff is cool. Like I said, I don't know if we have any effect on it, but I think it's an easy add-on that can actually make a difference in your riding.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's actually really cool that Josh said that because, I think one of the first things a lot of people immediately think is like suspension. But then
Yeah,
when you think of something as simple as a seat cover, it's like, wow, I wouldn't have even thought of that. But Yeah, I will say I've noticed, at least in my time riding, seat covers make a drastic difference. Just having any grip whatsoever
Yeah.
between, the seat and your butt is a huge deal. Cornering, starts, so many areas of the track.
Yeah, the bikes are so fast these days. It's hard to hold on, and whether you're running like grip tape or a seat cover or a bump or ribs, like it's like cheap insurance, right? Like instead of putting more, you don't just like you need to almost every pro rider is smoothing out the power. They're not. I think Eli Tomac's like the only guy I know of that they've asked or he's asked for more power. Everybody else wants to tune it down and make it easier to run. So I think
Uh,
like seat cover, the bump, all that stuff is just like cheap insurance that's going to help you stay in control of the bike.
right. Yeah, well, I guess when you're beast mode, what can you say? You don't really need insurance for anything, right?
He's
Uh,
crazy, huh?
he is absolutely crazy, and I'm very excited to see how he does it. Motocross the Nations now that that's happening, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I couldn't agree anymore though. I went to a turn track once, and I could tell after one or two laps, like I was sliding back so much because I got lazy, and it
Yeah.
was one of those things where I was like, man, I don't really have anything keeping me accountable. No one, I didn't have anyone there to hold me accountable and say, hey, move up, whatever the case may be. I went back with this corner coach, and man, you want to talk about accountability? This little guy here, man, he'll hold you accountable real quick. It was
Yeah.
immediately like, get up, get forward, and I need that so bad.
Yeah, it's like one of those things when you ride and you see a video of yourself, you think you know what it looks like, right? You're like, oh man, I was sideways or I was dragging bar. Then you see a video and you're like, is this the same person? Like, is that who I really look like? And
Oh,
yeah, it's cool to have to run the bump and you feel it right away. And some of the dads or some of the guys that are like, hey, I don't like running this thing. Like my kid says it's annoying. And I'm like, that's kind of like the point of it. Like you're supposed to feel that thing behind you and be like, okay, I got to scoot up. And it's funny, like, I don't know, I think you're married too, but there's
yep.
one of the dating apps is like designed to be deleted is its tagline, right? And it's like, honestly, like that's kind of our product too, is like you can put it on, you can run it as long as you want. I didn't really think people would be permanently running it, but they do. But it's almost like it's kind of like designed to be taken off. You can put it on, you can go to the turn track, you can practice, you can do your drills, feel where you're sitting, and then okay, now I think I understand where I'm at now, and then you can take it off. So
Yeah, that is a great description right there. And that's like to a T of what you're saying, it should be somewhat annoying you in a way
yeah,
to be like, hey, you're out of step here. You're out of step, move up, move up. I will say for me with it, it's like what you're saying, it gets to that point where it's like, okay, I got to move, but it's also not like this log behind me on the seat. It's not like this thing is so giant and thick. It's thankfully, being its thin mannerisms give it that characteristic to feel it, but not like, hey, I'm going to feel like a rock punching you in the
yeah.
back.
Totally. That was another thing, like when we did the design of it, is like we tried so many different shapes and we tried so many different foam densities. Again, I had no idea that there was this many densities of foam and what the pound feet of foam, like it was a lot of learning again. But yeah, we had to eventually come to one that we were going to pick and decide on. And yeah, that was a big thing to where you could sit on it and it wouldn't feel like a rock. It would still have some squish to it, but enough to feel it behind you. Because to me, that was like I don't know, the real goal of it.
Right. Yeah, and that's awesome. And also like bouncing off of what you had mentioned, it can be permanent. It can be something that you just leave on there and you just
Yeah.
use it nonstop or taking it off. And boy, I'll be honest, I am one of the people that I love having that freedom of putting it on, taking it off, because I'll be honest to everyone out there that I'm not using it every single time I ride, but when I'm at the turn track, it's on the whole day. If I'm at certain days for training, it's on, and like that's important to me because that's when it can really kind of, I guess, teach me. And then I get that chance, like you also mentioned earlier, to have that freedom to like, oh, I did learn something, or hey, I didn't. So we got to go back and readjust. So
Yeah. No, some of the turn track videos I've seen you post, they're pretty cool. That track looks pretty fun.
Yeah, it's called Nap City MX here in Ohio. That's a phenomenal track, and the owner is such a nice guy, and he puts on phenomenal turn track conditions. He's got a main track as well where they hold like a whip contest, I think,
Oh yeah.
in the fall, and it's crazy big. He's got some big jumps that, someone of my calipers, I'm okay with holding off on those for right now. But someone at your level, though, I can see you coming out and launching some of those and having no problem, though. So,
Maybe that stuff scares me still, but it's fun, huh?
hey, I saw you guys testing that 25 Honda out at Ironman. It didn't look like you were afraid of any of those jumps. Those are
Oh,
some big boys there.
that was so scary. Yeah, I was on the plane there, and like you've seen it on TV so many times. You're like, oh, I bet like watching that step down on the Godzilla, and I'm like, dude, that would be so fun to jump. And then you're like thinking about it in your head, and then you're like, okay, if I get there and I don't do it, and it's gonna be a long flight home, kicking. When am I gonna get to go back to Ironman and ride? So yeah, I had
Right.
to do it while I was there. I was scared, but I had to do it.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's awesome because those are some gnarly jumps. I did get to go to the Ironman National and seeing them in person. Yeah, video does no justice. Like I don't think people understand quite how big any of those jumps are. So,
No, it is. It's way different in real life, and the TV has such a good way of making things look small. Like even the Supercross jumps, man. I don't think people understand. Like those guys make it look so easy, and like Supercross, Motocross, is such a razor's edge between perfect and absolute disaster. I mean, like look at RJ Hampshire from like 2 weeks ago. He like just barely clipped that rhythm section, and it's just game over, and then he's out. Like it's such a fine line. That's what makes it so exciting. I think it's so cool, but yeah, dude, it's so scary.
yeah, it's amazing how people, especially people that don't understand the sport at all, just think, "Oh, I don't understand. They can just twist the throttle and they'll jump." It's like, no, there's there is some very fine details on landing, throttle control, brake control. There's so much that goes on, and yeah, that there's a reason why those guys are the top 40 in the world, you
Yeah.
know?
Dude, even just riding normally, like even at your turn track or doing training drills, it's like there's so much going on, like with your feet, with your hands, with the bike, suspension, where you're sitting, where you're standing, where your fingers are on the levers. Like there's so much to go on. I think like not to go back to the product or anything, but it's like anything you can find that will help you ride a little bit better is beneficial. I think like there's just so much going on. You should give yourself every advantage you can get. Any grip tape, anything like that. Like I don't know, it's so beneficial.
Absolutely, because it's true. I mean, like you said, there are a million moving parts, it feels like, and having an advantage in any manner whatsoever, you should take it. Take it when you
Yeah.
can. And yeah, that's a great point, honestly, because especially in the corners, I think, obviously everyone wants to scrub like James Stewart or throw a whip like I don't know, Nick Thomasounis or someone out there, one of those guys that throws crazy whips. But in reality, if you want to, see real improvement in your riding, you want to see some major speed development and just overall results, it 100% comes down to the cornering. And, I think I'm guilty of that from like my past. I was like, oh, yeah, sure, cornering, whatever. But now it's like, okay, really focus on that. The controls on your bike, your throttle control, your positioning on the seat, obviously with the seat bump. It's like, man, there's just a million things. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's why they say jump for show, corner for dough, right? I've been saying that since my dad
amen.
was racing and stuff. So it's like there's a reason that stuff still rings true. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny how those old sayings still live to this day, and I don't think they're gonna die anytime soon.
No way. Yeah, it's I don't know. I think that's what's so fun about dirt bikes and moto in general is even when you have like the best day at the track, there's still so much you could work on. And like you see these guys who win on Saturday and they're like, "Oh, but I rode like this and I got to still fix this." And you could have the sickest day ever and there's still so much you got to work on. It's never ending. It's kind of fun. It's frustrating at times, but it is pretty fun just to always be working at something. And I mean, I have so many friends that are so good and riding with them growing up, you're like, I'd feel so sick that day. And then they'd be like, you watch your friends just ride way over your head, and you're like, okay, but if I could ride like that, even if you had the best day ever, you're like, man, I wish I could ride like that guy. It's just, yeah, it's fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think this sport really caters to people that have um, almost like self drive when it comes to sports or work, whatever it may be, because internally you're always thinking of exactly that, like how can I be better? I know I can do better. I can do this. And like you said, also seeing someone faster or doing something that you couldn't do, and it's gonna drive you. And yeah, I think that's really cool. Would you say that any of that's kind of contributed towards business side of things? I know you said you never really expected to be a business owner, but here you are as a business owner.
Totally. Yeah, I've always been super self-motivated and driven. I, worked hard at school, got my degree, stuff like that. And yeah, you have to be super disciplined and know that there's like a result that's coming, whether it's not instant satisfaction, I think is like the biggest detriment to people. Like if you can delay your satisfaction and work hard now for a goal that's coming, I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah, like I didn't really think I'd own a business, and it was kind of one of those things that I was like, okay, I'll try this and see if it works, and maybe there'll be a sign that it won't work, or maybe there'll be a sign like, hey, we should stop here, and then I'd like try this and it would work, and okay, well, let's try the next thing, and maybe at the next step something won't work, and then you get to the next step, and then all your buddies are like, dude, this thing works really good, like you should try this, and then all right, let's file for a patent. Like, let's see what happens. And then maybe it won't go through. And then it goes through. And then, it's just like, before you know it, you're like so far down the road and you're like, okay, I guess we have a business now. And I think it's like 3 years in now. And it's, yeah, you just have to be super motivated and no one is going to do it for you. So you got to do it yourself. Right.
Yeah, that's really cool. Honestly, you're living the American dream, being a business owner and pursuing, a life involved in something that you love. And I just think that's awesome. So,
Thanks. Yeah.
mad respect for that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's not, I guess the older I get, it's rare that you have people that really do stuff that they like to do. I have so many friends that they work a job, like a good job. They make more money than I do, but it's like they're at the office every day, and I get to go to the track on during the week and on the weekends and go to events and stuff like that. And I love my job. It's so fun, and I get to meet the coolest people. And yeah, I'm so lucky for sure. And I think when you find something that you like to do, I've always told people like you should take your whatever you're passionate about and like find a way to get paid doing it. Like you're doing it, you're finding a way to make money and grow an audience and stuff like that. It's super cool. And I think just people like that are so lucky because so many people go to a job every day they hate and they're going to work there for 40 years. And I don't know. I love my life. It's so fun.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it's all about. Life is short, and we're here for an experience, right? You got to go out and give it your all and everything that you do, and try to enjoy every last second of it. And yeah, I couldn't say any better words than what you just described for it. Find something you love and try and find ways to make a living around it. And
Yeah. Even when my day sucks or I'm stuck, doing emails or whatever, I'm like, this is still so much cooler than doing this for some like, I don't know, a food company or a medical device. I don't know, whatever it is. But it's like, yeah, my stuff's dirt bikes. Like it's what I know. It's what I love. Like I'd rather sit and write and read about dirt bikes all day than anything else. So
heck yeah.
keep doing it, right?
Heck yeah. Hey, I don't think anyone will discredit you there, that's for sure. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people I would love to be in that as well. And with that, what would be the best advice that you could give to someone out there who's, really thinking about it, or maybe they just haven't committed yet and it's just something that's been on their mind? What would you say to them with a business or pursuing their goals and their dreams with that stuff?
Yeah, I think, starting your own business or starting an idea is like you just have to keep doing it. You have to start. Everyone starts somewhere. Like literally, it sounds so cliche, but you have to start and just keep going. Like no one is going to come do it for you. Like if you have this idea in your head, no one is going to come to your house and pull this idea out of your head and do it and pay for it and give you the credit. You know, like you have to do it. And yeah, I think just like it sounds dumb, but like don't give up, try your hardest. But that's what it is. You do have to try hard. You have to not give up. If you find a roadblock, like everyone who has ever started any business is going through the same thing that you did. And so if someone else can figure it out, you can figure it out too. Um, yeah, it's hard, but everything's hard. So pick what you want to be hard, and the result at the end is going to be cool. Like I have something in the world that people buy that was in my brain. Like that is the craziest thing to me. And just because, yeah, we just said, okay, like let's try this. And you try it, something works, you try it, you have a little different version and try it. Like you just try and work hard. And it sounds, like I said, it sounds so cliche, but there's a reason those things are cliches, I guess, because it's how it is.
Yeah, I mean, if that's how it is, that's how it is, you know. People can call it a cliche and they can hate on it, but it's true. And that's, yeah, respect there. And I mean, I have like the most respect for anyone that owns a business whatsoever, because I know that it'll definitely be probably more work than any 9 to 5 will ever give anybody, because it's 24/7, and it's, you, like you said, it comes down to what are you gonna do? No one's gonna do it for you. You gotta pick yourself up and get going, you know? So
Totally.
mad respect in there.
Thank you.
Well, okay, so for my final question, I'll ask you, I assume you've been testing the 2025 models, correct? With
Yeah.
Cycle News? Okay.
Yep.
Are you allowed to share your top three right now, or does that say secret with the Cycle News videos to
I
come?
could share my personal top three. Yeah, we just
Okay.
did 2025 450 shootout last week. Um, Dude, they're all so good. I think if you can find a deal close to you, you know, a shop that will help you out with parts, or the parts guy or the service guy that you can get work done, I think is super helpful. Um, I really like I really like the Yamaha, the Honda, and the KTM, and the Cowie is a really close third or fourth.
Okay.
The Yamaha is so fast. If you're a racer, I think that's the bike you should pick. It's so fast, but it's almost like violently fast to ride. Uh, the new Honda is sick because it's all new. They did a lot of improvements on that, and the KTM is just a good all around. Does everything pretty well. And then that Cowie, we found a really good setting with the Cowie guys. They helped us out. It took a little bit of time to get there. It was a little bit rough at first, but once we found that good suspension setting, we kind of like raked the bike out a little bit. I was super happy. Yeah, they're all so good.
Oh man. Well, that's really cool to hear, because the few of those are not exactly where I expected them to land. I've been wondering with the new Honda, because all the videos that were coming out about it, it seemed like everyone was falling in love with it pretty
Yeah.
quick. Because was it the 24 that had the frame issue that a lot of people were saying, this is too stiff, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, totally. That last generation, it was super stiff and felt really like you would feel every bump from the wheel all the way into your hands.
Oof.
And what's funny, like I got to sit down and talk with Trey Kennard, which was just so cool. He's the nicest guy ever. But he was saying that the bike was actually so soft that it was bending, and it was bending and twisting, and that's what you were feeling in your hands. So they're like, we made the bike stiffer. I'm like, dude, there's no way you can make that bike any stiffer. It's already so stiff. And they're like, no, 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 this is what we did. We stiffened it here and here and here. And so that's going to actually make the bike not flex. So it'll dampen a bunch of the forces and stuff. And you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's funny. We get to go to all these new intros and new bikes and stuff. And when you ride, like we rode the 25 at Ironman, and when you ride a prep track on a brand new bike, you're like, this is my favorite bike ever. So good. No, but then it's like you have nothing to compare to. You're on a brand new track. So it's kind of like, it's going to take it how you will. And that's why we have a job, ride bikes at tracks that are all beat up and ride them back to back. And it's like Suzuki's helped us out for forever. And I usually get a RMZ for a decent amount of time during the year. And when that's my only bike, dude, I love the RMZ. But if you
Really?
ride back to back with everything, you're like, okay, I kind of can see like why it's ranked where it is, but it's funny.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that surprises me then. I guess I wouldn't have known that for the RMZ. I do know that is, I mean, I remember growing up, that was like Suzuki and Honda were the bikes back then. And then it was like all of a sudden it was Kawasaki for a little bit of a wave, and then it was KTM, then it was Yamaha, KTM, and it seems like maybe back to Honda coming.
I mean, not that long ago, James was on the Suzuki, Ken Roxon, Dungy, Reed, like they,
Mhm.
I mean, Carmichael before them, like they had a good run for a long time. I think, I mean, yeah, the new bike it's hasn't been changed in too long, but
Right.
Kenny's still up there on one. So I think a lot of
Yeah.
it's the rider. I think if you put him on any, maybe you put Ken Roxon on it, he or not Ken Roxon, Jet Lawrence on it, he would still win. You know?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Oh man. Well, that's really cool to hear. Like I said, just because, I think for a lot of people, I guess, for a lot of us fans and everything, we love getting to see the major magazines and news outlets and everyone coming out with like the shootout videos and all the details on these bikes because boy, it can be a little intimidating showing up to a dealership or even to buy a used bike and you're like, I don't know maybe enough about this model or
totally.
maybe I think I do, but I'm wrong. So,
Yeah, and it's so hard. Like, when do you get the chance to see? I mean, I feel so lucky. Like, when do you ever get a chance to ride all these new bikes back to back and to have them all? Like, it's really cool because Honda comes out, Yamaha comes out. They'll all meet us at the track, and they're there to change stuff on the bike. Hey, we know that this worked really good if you do this. You know, if you drop the forks this way or you set the sag here instead. Like, that's super cool and super helpful, and it helps us as like the news outlets to get the bike dialed, and then we can relay that information to the consumer at the end. But yeah, I mean, I was like, not that long ago, like watching every video that ever came out, watch like just dying at whatever content, any video I could find, I would eat it up. So it's cool now to be on the other end and be like, I remember that. So I'm like, okay, let's tell the people this, or like, let's show them what we did or where we were. And I like that a lot.
yeah, that's what I think is important because of what you just said of being on the other end of knowing like this is the information I would have liked to know or the things that I would have liked to seen. I mean, over here on the East Coast, I can probably attest for I'd say probably 75 to 85% of the people that are just like your average Joes that get to go ride all winter long. That's all that we have.
Oh yeah,
We don't have riding throughout the winter unless if you can make it down south, which can be really tough for people with jobs and price and so on and so forth. So watching those videos, like getting every detail possible, it gets at least for me and many of these other average Joes, that is what we consume all winter long, and that's what we need.
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
remember that come winter time. I'll remember that.
you'll it'll be 3 o'clock here, and it's already dark, and I'm sitting on my phone or my computer watching YouTube videos of the shootout bikes, or whatever the case for the 18th time.
Wait, what did they say about this again?
Oh yeah. You go back, you watch about a million of them at that point, and so, but
Yep.
but anyway. Well, I really do appreciate you spending some time with me, and of course, we already know the 2025s would look so much better with these on them. I mean, of course, right?
Yep. Got all the
Um,
new colors. Yep. You gotta the first mod you should do to your 2025 is slap a seat bump on there for sure.
seat bump on there, and boom, 2 seconds faster a lap already, right?
Shameless plug. Yep.
No, I seriously do appreciate you joining me today, Ryan. And again, for everyone out there, thank you for watching and spending some time with us as we got to just talk about the corner coach itself, seat bumps, and everything else involved. So, Ryan, thank you very much.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me on. Love what you're doing. It's cool to see. I think now is the time in the industry. Like, anybody can have a voice, anybody can have a channel. Like, it's the easiest time ever to get in. So I think it's awesome what you're doing, and yeah, keep it up.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that a ton. And yes, 100% correct. I literally started with my cell phone and just pointing it at my face and talking. So,
Yep. It's awesome.
but well, thank you once again. And that's all we've got for today. So come back for some more videos in the future.